We'll now call to order the regular meeting of Finance Personnel. This is February 13th, 2024. Amy, roll please.
Alderperson Pere.
Here.
Alderperson Gantz.
Here.
Mayor Boyd.
I'm here.
Alderperson Kundinger. Here. Alderperson Quigley.
Here.
Very good. Item 2, approval of the minutes from the January 9th, 2024 regular meeting of the Finance Personnel Committee. I'll make a motion to approve.
Nope, second.
Motion by me, seconded by Alderperson Pere. Any discussion or comments? Seeing there is none, all those in favor, just say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 3, public comment upon matters not on the agenda. Comments made during the public comment period shall pertain only to matters under the jurisdiction of the Finance and Personnel Committee. There's really no one in person, so virtually, if there's anyone out there that has any public comments not on the agenda, please state your name. For the second time, any public comments upon matters not on the agenda? And third and final time, any public comments upon matters not on the agenda? If so, just state your name. Item 4, Fire Department overtime and LifeQuest services billing reports for January 2024.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Alderperson Pere, seconded by Alderperson Gantz. Any discussion or comments on Fire Department overtime?
I think there's a small typo in the new grid, just should say 2024. Like all of where January is documented at the top, shouldn't that say 2024?
Well, I can't open anything right now. Can you guys see?
That's all.
Yep, that's correct. It's typo. Yep, that's a typo. Sorry, we'll fix it.
Thanks, Chief.
I know, the whole place would go to.
Good eyes. Yeah.
Oh, yep.
I can't bring anything up right now. Okay, any other comments that we have? Seeing there is none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Chief, obviously we do read these things, so you should be happy about that.
Some people do.
We just blow through
Amy
this.
does.
So.
Yeah.
Nice try, Chief. It was
I'm
caught.
very happy. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Item 5, consideration and possible action on the January 2024 police overtime report.
Move
I'll
to
make a
approve.
motion.
We'll go motion by Alderperson
Second.
Quigley, seconded by Alderperson Gantz. Any discussion, comments, or typo errors that you guys see? Because I put one in there. Jeremy, did you put anything in there? Did you plant anything on us here?
It's a test.
Mr. Mayor,
Oh, Alderperson Quigley.
comment.
Oh, I'll go comment.
Wow, that's cool. Hang on, Jeremy. Alderperson Quigley.
In the memo that goes along, it's talk about the overtime hours are low, but that a new hiring process will begin in March. I'm sure we've probably talked about it before, but can you just refresh my memory what that's about?
Absolutely. Chief?
Yeah, basically we posted the new position and we would begin interviewing candidates after we do the preliminary review of their resumes and applications. But as of right now, we are one short of our typical sworn complement.
Okay, so maybe I'm not understanding, but in the memo it says there's going to be a new hire process. Okay, because at one point there was talk about instead of waiting until there is a vacancy, maybe having somebody in the pipeline or being in the training process so that we don't have such a big gap between. Is that what this is?
Yes. No, this is actually to fill the vacancy that was created by the promotion of Sergeant Nowak to captain. So we would actually be looking to hire two. We'd be looking to hire one to fill the existing vacancy, and then later this fall, hopefully hiring an additional one to fill an anticipated vacancy for that overhire we had talked about previously.
Okay, thank you.
Does that make sense now?
Yeah, I just read this sentence wrong. The new hiring process
No.
it was a new process, but no, it's a process for a new hire.
No, very good question.
I got it now.
Very good question. Other questions or comments on police overtime and billing reports? Seeing there is none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 6, consideration and possible action on a 2024 budget amendment to add police leases. I'll make a motion to approve, and if you have questions, we can have the chief comment.
I'll second.
Motion by me, seconded by Alderperson Gantz. Any discussion or comments, or you need a clarification from the chief on the memo? Seems fairly straightforward. All right. That said, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Item 7.
Thank you.
Consideration and possible action on a revised purchase, sale, and development agreement terms with FBS Investment Group for an expanded manufacturing facility at 2257 American Boulevard, WD 1371. Dan.
I mean, I don't get the motion.
Dan, I said that. It didn't sound right, did it? Dan.
I don't get a motion to approve like all the other.
No,
items
no,
here?
no. We
Okay.
like to hear from you. Nope, not
All
going to
right,
happen.
fair
Not that easy.
Fair enough. Hold on one second while I pull up the presentation because I know it's a little easier to go through these when there's a little bit more detail. So, in front of you tonight are four business park projects. So something that a few of them have been working on for a while and finally coming back here. So it's the Wisconsin construction cycle ends up being wait and rush. That's why you see four of them here on the same agenda tonight. So, all right. So let me get started here. So this first one, FBS Investment Group LLC, or for better, it's known as the location is Bayside Machine. So if you know where Biotech Way is, the dog park, that business right on the corner, on the north side of Green Bay Packaging, that's who we're talking about here tonight. In 2020, in 2019, they had a development agreement with the city that they're working through, and by early 2020, that agreement was approved and signed. Well, then we know what happened in 2020, and since then, it's just been kind of a whirlwind for this organization. They've expanded and grown, but had to lease space because they just couldn't find the right product, right pricing, and right timing. They like to bring all that back under one roof right now, incorporate more offices, and kind of rebrand their whole building with almost like a corporate headquarters, with their current office sort of being rebranded as kind of, again, more just general office. So as a result of that here tonight, I put a couple select pages of their approved site plan. So they went through the site plan process, and they're looking forward to moving forward with this project late 2024, early 2025. So that's really what they're shooting for now. The goal behind this, getting this in front of you here tonight, is as part of the terms, you see it in my memo, they were originally granted a site assembly grant from us, more or less land for $1 or zero, I guess you would say, and they were supposed to do something with it. We had at that time, because they did not act forward, we could have either gone back and taken the property and try to sell it again, or we could try to work with them. So the past couple of years, I've been trying to work with them, trying to be amenable. And so they do want to continue to move forward. It just wasn't in the cards for them. So as a result of that one, we've also talked to them about how to change their structure of their development incentive. And so part of that one, we gave them a planning grant, or a site assembly grant. They wanted to switch that now to a pay-go agreement to, again, spread those dollars over time. They've been sitting with the equivalent to dollar amount of $130,000 in a bank account waiting to pay us, but we need a revised development agreement to do so. So they want to pay us for the land and then be out from underneath that payment structure, and then we'll then restructure the agreement to be more in a pay-go incentive to a net present value amount. So I have that in sort of detailed out here. The existing agreement is on the left. In 2021 and 2022, we tried to revise the agreement, but again, it got stalled. And now here we are from 2022 to 2024. Here's where we're at with a finally approved site plan, and this is the proposed term changes. So really what they're looking at doing is switching from what would have been a site assembly grant and two pay-go agreement grants to about $205,000 in property tax rebates at a 90-10 ratio until the incentive reaches its amount of $205,000. And so over time, the site project grew and shrunk, and now it's back into where it is. They do plan on growing again, but again, it's more incremental versus just what it would have been kind of that second go around. So as a result, planning staff's recommending approval of it, subject to the terms in the document that you see there, and you see the rough square footage, the timelines, the payment of the site assembly grant, repayment, and then the revised value assessments that would be attached to it. And our portions would be the sale of the property, which has been complete, and then as well as the switch to the pay-go agreement. So
Thank you. Just curious, is there an indefinite period that they can hold on to the land, or we renege on this or just start over?
There isn't. If it would have been for COVID and construction pricing as then interest rate increases, over every year there's been something that we haven't had to deal with.
Right.
In that case. We could have gone back afterwards and said, one, either we're going to charge you for your pilot payment, which you didn't make, or two, we're going to take the money back, or both.
Sure.
We chose not to because we're trying to be a little bit more receptive to our existing businesses. It's a lot easier to help an existing business grow than it is to recruit a new one. And so if you can continue to work with your existing businesses here and not have them put more of their resources into Ashwaubenon, let's keep them here. Let's do that. So we've been flexible with them, we'll say, probably more so than we would have been had it not been for a pandemic, construction pricing increases. They are in the metal, the metal business, and so for a while they were struggled when we had, steel prices went skyrocketing. So not only were they impacted on their business, they were also impacted trying to build a building, and so they've been hit kind of a double whammy on this one. So we've been a little bit more flexible than we would have had we not had these dominoes all lining up in a row for them.
Yeah, and I asked that, hoping I'd get that kind of answer, because that's good that people know that, and businesses, so I think that's very commendable that we have that. Questions or I would make a motion, by the way, to approve the proposed revised terms.
Second?
Motion by me, second by Alderperson P-Rock. Any discussion or comments? All right, that said, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 8, consideration of possible action on a revised purchase, sale, and development agreement terms with GMS for approximately 42,000 square feet, portion of Parcel WD-1138, for an expansion to Badgerland Supply located adjacent to 14 Builders Court. Dan. And again, the reason I have you say all this stuff, not that their stuff is not important, but these are big developments that I think deserve at least something said.
Yep. So last, I think it was September, the Personnel and Finance Committee heard about this project. In relation to, it's also heard about the Infinity Machine expansion at that same time. So this is for Badgerland Supply. And so if you, a little bit of history about our southern, our east and, or sorry, our west and southern business park, is this was the first development south of Red Maple Road that went into the city of De Pere. And so they kind of bit the bullet first when it was a kind of a rough economy in 2006, 7, and 8. They were the first one to come in. And so to reward that, they also use our rail line. They're one of our few users of our rail line. And so for them to relocate to a new location to expand is a bit of a challenge. So we want to make sure we can help them. So we worked in last year to identify a portion of a parcel that they could use. During that discussions, we understood that we had to relocate a storm sewer line around their parcel because it currently would have been sitting right where the parcel was. That couldn't be that way. Working with engineering, we found that it would be quite costly to do so because De Pere is very flat, and when you have flat, you have to have very large pipes to be able to account for that same amount of flow than you could if you had a little bit more gravity. So as a result, to relocate that storm sewer line would have been several $100,000. And so as a result of that one, we said, okay, what can we do with this business instead? So what we tried to do is kind of work concurrently with economic development and planning and zoning. Thankfully, they're under the same department, but work together to say, can we reduce a setback for them, increase their building aesthetics of their building in exchange for being closer to the lot line, and then more or less leave that storm sewer where it is. And so if we ever have to get to it, we can get to it. So that as part of the development term sheet discussions that you'll see here tonight, is right where this parcel line is the storm sewer line that I'm talking about. We move them 5 feet to the west of it, create a new easement as part of it, and the whole intention is have a smaller setback here, which we do require minimum 20 in our business parks. We're recommending that be changed under planning and zoning to a 10-foot setback because they are going above and beyond and adding greater design to the building. This is going to be a cold storage building. It's meant to hold drywall. So we want it to at least look good, because right now it's all stacked outside and we want to make some improvements there. But the reason why we're not just giving them more land is we're trying to preserve as much as possible for Infinity Machine, who's looking at their 200,000 square foot expansion as well as a research and development.
So really quick, their land is to the west, Infinity?
Just right over here. This is all open for us right now, but they are currently located on American Boulevard. Their parcel would become like an L shape and have another 200,000 square foot expansion, which they are working on their plans right now. So in a few months, you may see those term sheets. So as a result, we're trying to work with both of them. So we offered to them, we asked their contractor to send us 2 quotes, one of which is if it was built how they wanted to do it, and one of it if it's built to how we want them to do it as a result of that one. The increase was about $220,000 because it increased paving and it also increased, we asked for more brick around the whole building that would be facing Infinity Machine. And that comes at a cost. And so we offered to help cover some of those costs because it would still be less than us relocating the storm sewer line. So as a result, we're proposing to revise terms here to be a site assembly grant, and then a portion of that one also to be a project cost reimbursement grant of $40,000. So I have the terms here, but in short, our goal is to help. That did not come out well on here. The whole backside, it's in your packet, but the whole backside of the building facing what would be the Research and Development Center would be a brick building instead of just a metal building. And so again, that comes at a cost. So our proposed terms are for them to construct that minimum 16,000 square foot building, have the minimum values that you do see in bullet point 3 there when it comes to overall value as well as the overall revenue value. And then from us, our items are going to be to prepare a quick claim deed to be able to transfer that parcel. We do have to do a TID number 12 amendment for this because now instead of taking them all the way out, we're going to put them all the way in. We are going to coincide that one with our purchase of Turf property TIF boundary amendment. So we're going to do multiple things at a time. That'll happen later this year. A site assembly grant that is equivalent to about $38,000, and then our project cost reimbursement grant of $40,000. Overall, it's about 9% of the anticipated assessed value, which is lower than our normal, but a good approach for us to sort of meet in the middle and help reduce.
And what's
some of the
normal
costs.
again, like 12 to 14, or what a percent? What
Yeah, we're roughly in that range. It's incrementally increasing now with construction pricing and interest rates. Everyone's asking for more and more. But from a business park standpoint, just a storage warehouse, this is, we feel, is a good trade-off to help kind of get them a better building, us get a better building to look at, and then not have to relocate a storm sewer.
When, I assume they have to wait for joint review board to
The
approve
project,
the revised.
the project can continue to move forward because it's still part of a TID project.
It can.
Because technically, the parcel we're selling is in the TID. So we just have to clarify the TID boundary with an approval process. We will make it contingent on that, but we've never had a problem with it in the past.
When do
so.
they meet next? You know, I haven't seen.
We have to schedule it, so
Oh, okay.
I have to.
So you want to get a bunch of things
Yeah.
together at the same time?
Without trying to stay on topic here a little bit, in Plan Commission meeting, we'll be discussing at this month the Turf property in a concept plan. Assuming that conversation goes well, we can then start to have the TID conversation.
Very good.
And then it'll include this one as well.
Thank you. Questions, comments, or motion? I've made too many of them.
I'll make a motion to approve the terms.
Second.
Motion by Alderperson Quigley, seconded by Alderperson P-Rock. Questions and/or comments? Another exciting project for De Pere.
Yeah, hats off to your creativity in solving that one.
Trying to
Sorry,
meet
what?
in the middle.
I said hats off on the creativity in solving that one.
Yep, that's what he does. That's what he better do.
Kind of like my job.
Gets bonuses for that. No, he doesn't. No more questions or comments, and I'll stop saying things. That said, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Number 9, correct? Number 9, consideration and possible action on sale and development agreement terms with Smet Construction Services for Parcel WD-D0076 on Venture Avenue in the West Business Park.
Thank you, Mayor. This item, the Finance and Personnel Committee heard early last year, from Musket Corp, who was going to do a planning option on this parcel. They were going to do a diesel exhaust fluid facility here because it had rail access and they get all their facilities from there. About June of last year, it was determined that there was too much fill to be brought in on site and they didn't want that for their rail lines. Still trying to work with them to find them another location, so we're still working on that one. But then this site became available. Also, in a very similar time frame, we worked with Smet Construction to identify a parcel for a planning option for a client of theirs. For about a 50,000 square foot building. Because we had sectored that piece off for Musket Corp at that time, we had to find them a new location, so we more or less created a parcel from a larger parcel on American Blvd. I don't like doing that because it takes 14-acre parcels and continues to make them smaller, which makes them less appealing to larger users. So once Musket Corp left the picture, I proposed this site back to them because this was one of their original sites, and they agreed this is something that they wanted to go forward on. It was a win-win for everybody. As a result of that one, we, again, to keep a larger site, even though they had a planning option, we upped the incentive a little bit because this company that's locating here is providing a significant amount of jobs. Now, it's not new jobs to the region. As you saw in my memo, they are currently located in Ashwaubenon. However, it would have been Ashwaubenon, it would have been De Pere or Minnesota, because they ran out of growth potential in their current facility. It's dated. It wasn't spaced appropriately for their appropriate business use, meaning columns everywhere, corridors, versus a wide open space. And so they were looking for a new facility. They have about 90 employees. So keeping that within the region is important. And those employees aren't not just manufacturing. There's a lot of engineers that go into this product. So the company produces machines that make, again, wrapping. So very similar to a Infinity machine who makes specialized machining. And so a lot of the engineers are stationed here and do their design work here, and then it gets sent out to other manufacturing facilities in their network. So we wanted to keep them here. So as a result, we've been working with Smet for the past 6 months on a location. They provided an example site plan here. Note that the paved area is quite larger than probably what it will be, but what they're showing is how far they could pave out if they, in the future, when they wish to expand and add on some square footage to this one as well. So we've been working with Smet. You can see that there's a very large number of parking stalls compared to what we normally see in our business park, but again, that's because they're bringing in 90 employees, which is a good thing. So here's the example renderings. They're appreciative of our new zoning code allowing more flexible material choices. So that's something that we talked about last meeting at Plan Commission. So this relatively meets the planning and zoning requirements. And you can see some more components there. But the new potential value is about $3 million when you take a look at where we are from a dollar per cost per square foot for office space versus warehouse space. So I did include all those. I'm pretty conservative in my dollar per value amount because it is manufacturing also in there. The state takes on that manufacturing assessment, and they don't give us any estimates. We have to sort of go it on our own, at least create a baseline. If it was accurate, they would give us a baseline. So we're proposing the terms that you see in your packet. They want to be breaking ground as soon as possible, so they want to continue to move forward with commencing construction by June 1st, so hopefully actually they want to commence construction even before then. I'm trying to give them a little bit of leeway, but they want to be in the new building by January 1. So they want to move forward as quickly as possible. So you can see the breakdown of assessed value versus guaranteed revenue. Yeah, I include that one in the packet. And our obligations at that point would be the site assembly grant of $213,000 and then a project cost reimbursement grant. They're instead of in the previous scenarios where we talked about pay-go, their preference is for an upfront to reduce their cost for their client. Ultimately, Smet will own the project and they will lease it to their client. So it will be a Smet project, even though there is a different user in there. So in total, it's about 18% of the assessed value. So where we talked about 12 to 13 to 14. Sorry, what did I say? 15? It's 15%.
15%,
not 18. About 15%, which is a little bit higher. But again, the number and types of jobs that are being retained here is important.
Very good, thank you. Questions or comments on this development?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Alderperson P-Rock, seconded by Alderperson Coniger. Any discussion or comments? By the way, we mentioned Infinity Machine a lot. I mean, you and I have been in there.
Yeah.
Maybe sometime. We've talked about this, maybe getting tours for alders to some of these businesses because they're quite remarkable.
Yeah.
Infinity's just amazing. So it's something we'll talk about and kind of shove your way. We can't obviously have all you go at the same time, but there's some impressive businesses in our industrial and business parks. Wow.
I encourage everyone to sign up for the business walk.
Oh, and there's a really good chance to do
in
it.
September.
Yeah.
You get a chance to pop into some of these businesses, and I can tell, I can direct the person who's organizing the business walks to put you in various different zones to be able to visit some of these businesses.
That's a great idea.
I
And I
do
do
it.
think they get the invites for the
Yep.
business walk, correct? Yeah.
Yeah, I do it.
Yep.
Yeah, it really is something else. Yeah, that's a great idea. I'm sorry I
Yeah.
kind of went off, but that said, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Where am I on now?
10.
10. I can kind of see. Consideration of possible action on a revised development agreement with Mask LLC and Flex LLC, Belmark, for an expanded manufacturing facility located at 600 Heritage Road, EDF0096, another one.
It wouldn't be a year without
Wow.
Belmark making some sort of
Wow.
expansion.
That's
Great for
amazing.
them. Had great conversations with Carl at Belmark and talking about their future plans. And this is just one step of, I guess you'd say, some really exciting things that could be happening in the future for them, which is good. But they have an existing agreement with us for when the corporate headquarters and skywalk or walkway was constructed back. That agreement was from 2015. In that agreement, it talked about what the project was and included 4 parcels. This is a parcel on it. That agreement is structured so that they receive 70% of the increment until the TID closes from the new increment growth. Now, what's interesting about it is the project and parcel that we're talking about here now was included only because it was touching the building. And it really was about the skywalk and the corporate headquarters on the north side of Heritage Road. But because it still technically is part of a development agreement, I didn't want to have 2 separate development agreements for the same building. It makes things a little awkward and stuff like that. So talking with the city attorney, it made an opportunity for us to extend to them the same terms of that existing agreement, but keep it in the same agreement. So creating more or less a Project 1 with certain timelines and Project 2 with certain timelines. So they've met all their obligations of Project 1, and so we're proposing what Project 2 would be, which is the expansion of, as you see right here, a small expansion of that's the area of disturbance, so the building won't be that big, but a 20,000 square foot expansion, and then relocation of some parking to a new area. The purpose behind that, again, is to kind of create more storage so that their manufacturing can expand. So we're proposing to just extend the existing terms from the 2015 agreement, but to add another project to it. So that's what we're proposing to them, and they like that because it's very similar, I guess you'd say, in terms to what we also did for plant number 8 or their current building going up right now, from an overall value standpoint. So I did include all the same conditions. I'm trying to keep things easy for Tony by doing a lot of repetition
nice.
in our obligations and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So trying to be nice. And then again, taking it to the pay-go scenario. Overall, what does that look like for the remainder of TID 10's life? It's about $75,000 worth of an incentive. Now, I'm bringing this forward tonight in the hope that this is the project. However, when I go back to the screen here, we're currently working with some stormwater situations on this site. So that incentive amount may have to be modified and come back either to here or to council to switch that to a potential incentive to help with stormwater. It's just the way the DNR requirements are. We wanted to move this forward so that they can continue to get financing through the bank, and hopefully we don't have to pivot, but we may have to bring this back in a month if we do have to pivot to.
Is the DNR on site right now? Is that how it works, or?
So the situation is when you build a retrofit to a building or you do anything else, you have to have what's known as 40% total suspended solids reduction. The challenge with that one is it's a little bit murky on how you want to define that. The challenge is they're also taking a dirty parking lot water and putting clean roof water on it. So right now we're trying to figure out, can we count that as a reduction of suspended solids because you're going for cleaner water and you're replacing dirty water with cleaner water. If that can count, we won't have a stormwater situation. If that doesn't count, as their calculations are doing, if they can meet that, then we're going to have to find a different solution to stormwater management. And that solution may not only just be for this one, but it will be for some of the other things that Belmark has going on. But we don't want to also slow them down if possible. So.
And those are issues when you expand the parking lot or any part of the footprint?
In this case, it's because they'll be expanding the parking lot. If they were just taking on some other stuff and doing some other stuff, but when you're making those disturbances, that 40% TSS reduction has to, that's a DNR requirement.
Very
So
good.
if they can make the pitch and they can show the calculations that the roof water is doing the 40% reduction for them, we're in a better situation. And that's currently being evaluated right now. That's the end of last week discussion.
Thank you. Questions, comments? I'll make a motion to approve the proposed revised terms
I'll
for mask.
second.
Motion by me, seconded by Alderperson Gantz. Questions or comments? Alderperson Quigley.
Just a comment, I'm excited about this project, but to kind of echo what Alderperson Cuniger said, appreciate all that you do with these 4 projects, and this is kind of an area of city government that I knew the least about, and I'm impressed of the number of things that you have up in the air and the number of projects that you're bringing to us. So
I got plenty more.
keep up the good work.
He's got a
It's
few.
awesome.
He's got a few balls in the air right now.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
hearing.
I kind of refer to this as this is the only the only part of my job and where stuff rolls uphill because now it all goes to Tony. And so anytime I work on projects, it just goes up to him to create the development agreement. So it's great great problem to have, but it's a lot of, we have a lot of stuff going on right now. and
Also understand why we hired the new position
Yeah.
that
Right,
he
right.
got, quite obviously.
Yep.
Who's
So
getting up to
at
speed.
council, he will be at council next week
Oh.
for, to introduce himself to, if you haven't met him yet. So
That's great.
Cool.
Other questions, comments? He doesn't need any more kudos, so you can leave that.
All right,
alone.
I'll lay off
Yeah,
next
he gets-
time.
Yeah, enough of that. That said, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Dan, for all that. I don't know if you're done yet or not.
I'm done.
Yeah, thank you very much. Very, very successful. Item 11, consideration and possible action on resolution for De Pere Common Council, authorization or delegation of payment of vouchers or invoices. That's a very long sentence there. I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll
And then-
second.
Motion by me, seconded by Alderperson Quigley. Does someone want to just briefly just kind of just summarize this? It's kind of a big deal since we've been doing something different. Tony, you want it?
Sure, I can touch upon it, and then if Pam has anything to add as well. But essentially, what we took here is the resolution that we did for the 4th of July meeting last year, which delegated to staff the ability to pay any vouchers or invoices in lieu of having the council approval. This delegates it on a permanent basis, so that we don't necessarily need to meet every meeting, so to speak, just to approve vouchers or invoices. So, for example, like the January 2nd meeting, I think, of this year was really kind of one of the only reasons we ended up meeting. So this, again, delegates to the finance department or the city administrator as comptroller the ability to pay these bills. I'll also say this is kind of more customary as well in other municipalities for them to just simply engage in this process as well. So this is just a proposal to memorialize, document that, and delegate that authority.
And the council will still have access to view these electronically? Which
That's
we'll-
correct,
We'll,
yes.
we'll put someplace, right, to make it accessible for everybody. Will they still show up at the council meetings just as a courtesy, or not any reason because they'll be out there in virtual land? All right, correct. Questions or comments from anybody?
Aye.
Everyone all good? And we do have a motion and a second, correct?
I don't, do we?
Yeah,
Yes.
you do.
Yeah.
Mayor Boyd.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we did that. Yeah, I remember that. It was just sticking in my head right now,
It
yeah.
was 2 minutes ago.
Long day. That said, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And that goes to council, correct?
Yes.
Item 12, consideration and possible action on a request from Definitely De Pere to waive invoice 202307 related to the Tour De Pere special event for $1,881.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Alderperson Conager, seconded by Alderperson Gantz. Any discussion or comments?
And I can answer any questions too, so.
And then Dan can as well too. For anyone that's listening out, or they're going to hear this someplace, this is from the event with the bike race this summer. Looks like they had took a little bit of hit, correct? Dan, you want to kind of?
Yeah, I don't remember what was in the memo, but I'll just kind of do a brief overview. There was a very significant cost that was unexpected that came at the last minute, which was a massive detour cost. I think a $7,000 detour for one day. And as we all know, the elephant or hippopotamus in the room was not money well spent, I guess you would say.
And you mean literally a detour, right?
Yeah, the detour.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a, yeah.
It was the detour for the day, and it wasn't very well planned out, and it was privately contracted out because that's how it had to be done, and it just wasn't right. So as a result of that one, that was a major expense that wasn't anticipated, and therefore they weren't able to meet those costs. So as a result of that one, they're requesting this I guess you'd say, request for to waive the invoice, and that was for the overtime purposes of staff that went into that one. Now, I will say that Definitely De Pere is working on the after action plan. We've had multiple planning meetings for future meetings, so prior to council, they may have an after action plan available for council review. And just so everyone's aware, the route next year will change, and George Street will not be impacted, and as a result, we won't have as much of a heartburn during that process.
Very good. So it was a company that was doing the detour stuff, correct?
Yeah, we maxed out as much as we had, but we didn't have enough, I guess you would say. And so we had to go out and do a rental company. Well, if you remember what was going on last year, 172 was under construction. Everything was under construction last year, and therefore, as a result, detours were kind of, I guess you'd say, hard to see. and as a result, people weren't aware of it. No matter how much advertising you can do beforehand, if the media outlets don't pick it up weeks in advance. So there's a whole slew of planning actions that are being done to better inform people leading up to the event so that they aren't surprised the day of.
That's cool. So George Street's out completely.
It will be
Trying to think of
open.
the race
It will
all
be
that
open for
Remember that?
traffic.
Remember we went down and watched it?
So yeah, it's just Broadway and Front Street that are being impacted next.
Very good.
this
Thank
year.
you. That's a good idea. Questions or comments?
I think that nicely summarizes that it won't be costs that are incurred again.
Yeah.
So that's a great thing
Y-
to,
We still will have some detour costs,
Yep.
but it won't be nearly what it was. You won't be routing people to Ashland. You won't be routing people to other areas. So yeah, our detour costs are literally going to be on 172 to tell people to go to Webster versus Riverside.
yeah, and really in the big picture of things, I mean, it's a beautiful event, getting people into your downtown corridor, and they spend a ton of money. So again, with knowing that it won't be a reoccurring cost and more awareness with each year, I think it's a wise thing to do.
And one of the things that came out of the event, the after action review, just so everyone's aware, the Tour of America's Dairyland parent company, I guess you'd say, of this one, was extremely happy with the results of De Pere. Extremely happy with the turnout, and one of the best turnouts for a first-year event that they've ever seen. So
Yeah, it was something special. It really was. And they were receiving a discount for police anyways, correct, if I remember? So, all right. Any other questions and/or comments? Seeing there is none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 13, consideration and possible action on the City of De Pere investments and cash detail report for December of 2023. I'll make a motion to accept and place on file.
Second.
Motion by me, second by Alderperson P-Rock. Any questions for Pam as she's sitting out there and eager to answer anything? No, not at all. Will the market collapse today really affect the next month? Give us an answer right now. Will it change? Okay. That said, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item, future agenda items. Does anyone have anything? Alderperson Quigley.
This might count as a follow-up, but I had asked at a previous council meeting about the possibility of doing some virtual meetings. Is that something that staff is still working on, or would it be helpful to ask for that once again?
Sure, we can do that. I think it's set up at this point that we can do
Okay.
that.
And just to reiterate, my point in doing it is, I think we had to do it because of weather recently, but as the sustainability guy, if there are times that we have a very light agenda, and if we can save people from having to travel in and do a face-to-face meeting, I think there are times when, if staff could have that option and say, let's do it virtual, that there might be a cost saving and also kind of a pain and suffering that we can eliminate there.
So we're going to do that at future finance?
We can discuss it, otherwise I think things are,
Pretty good the way it is and
Yeah.
just,
Okay.
okay, so we're,
I just wasn't sure because at the council, they said we'll bring it to personal finance, so I didn't know if there was an actual action step or if it's just, maybe the staff can do that now. I mean,
Is there a procedure that you want us to follow?
well, that's what will have to
Emails.
happen though. We'll have to have something out
Okay.
to everybody if that's
Okay.
if that's the direction we take as an option.
Yeah,
Yes.
looks like that's what he's looking for.
Tony will work on that, look
Yep.
into that, and then we'll talk to Larry tomorrow as well.
just some clarity.
And
Yep.
Shannon, she's here too. We'll talk to everybody.
All right.
Yeah, we'll include everybody. Okay? You okay with that?
yeah.
Okay, good. Other future agenda items? All right, I will make a motion to adjourn.
A second.
Motion by me, seconded by Alderperson Gantz. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Officially adjourned.